What makes a relationship strong and where does it crumble? This is a question we've all pondered at some point. Today, we delve into the intricate world of trust in relationships and how its violation, particularly through infidelity, can lead to the downfall of what might have been a beautiful partnership. Trust, as we know, is the bedrock of any relationship. It's the silent agreement between two hearts that says, "I am here for you and you can count on me." Trust is a sacred bond, a pact of honesty, reliability, and safety. It's the foundation upon which love flourishes, and without it, even the most passionate of relationships can wither and die. But what happens when this trust is broken? When the promises made are shattered by betrayal? Infidelity, an act that breaks this trust, can leave a relationship in ruins. It's like a fierce storm that strikes an otherwise calm sea, leaving devastation in its wake. Let's consider an anonymized case study of a couple. Let's call them Jane and John. They were your typical couple, seemingly happy and in love. But beneath the surface, John was unfaithful. As is often the case, there were subtle signs that Jane missed, signs that were only clear in hindsight. John began to spend more time away from home, often coming up with vague reasons for his absence. He was less interested in their shared activities. His phone became a constant companion, and he was often defensive when questioned. These were the subtle shifts in behavior, the quiet alarms that something was amiss. But Jane, like many of us, dismissed these signs, attributing them to stress or other mundane factors. This is a tale as old as time, a tale of trust and betrayal, but it's also a tale of learning and growth. Understanding these signs can help one preemptively address issues, potentially saving a relationship or at least mitigating the damage. It's about learning to trust, but also to question, to communicate and to understand. It's about navigating the complex terrain of love and relationships and emerging stronger, wiser, and more resilient. How can one recognize the signs of infidelity? This is a question that has left countless individuals perplexed and seeking answers. It's not always as glaring as a lipstick stain on a collar or a mysterious text message in the middle of the night. Often it's the subtle signs that can prove to be the most revealing. Let's take an anonymized case study to illustrate this point. We'll call our subject Jane. Jane noticed that her partner, whom we'll call John, started to exhibit changes in behavior. He was suddenly taking more care with his appearance, spending extra time at the gym, and showing a newfound interest in fashion, all of which were out of character for him. Then there was the increased privacy. John's phone was always on silent, face down and out of Jane's sight. He was also spending more time on his computer, often in private, and became defensive when Jane would approach. The shifts in emotional intimacy were the most distressing for Jane. John, who once shared his thoughts and feelings freely, became distant and withdrawn. Their conversations became superficial, devoid of the emotional depth that was once there. Jane felt an emotional chasm growing between them, one that she couldn't bridge no matter how hard she tried. These signs were subtle, easy to overlook or misinterpret. Jane could have dismissed John's interest in his appearance as a new health kick or his privacy as a need for personal space. The emotional distance could have been attributed to stress or other external factors. But when these signs are viewed collectively, they paint a much clearer picture of what might be happening. Infidelity is a complex issue, and recognizing the signs is not always straightforward. It requires a keen eye, a discerning mind, and often the courage to face a painful truth. But recognizing these signs is the first step in addressing the issue head-on. It's about acknowledging the possibility of betrayal, understanding the changes in your partner, and taking the necessary steps to seek clarity and resolution. Recognizing these signs is the first step in addressing the issue head-on. What do you do when you suspect infidelity? This question takes us to the heart of our discussion: communication. The cornerstone of any relationship, communication is the lifeblood that fosters trust and understanding. It lays the groundwork for open dialogue, enabling couples to navigate through the murky waters of doubt and suspicion. Let's illustrate this with a case study. Consider Sarah and John. Sarah had been wrestling with suspicion for a while, noticing subtle changes in John's behavior. Instead of letting her imagination run wild, she decided to have an open conversation with John. She expressed her fears without accusing him, creating a safe space for John to voice his thoughts. John, in turn, acknowledged Sarah's concerns and clarified the reasons behind his changed behavior. It turned out he had been under immense pressure at work, causing him to act differently. This open conversation not only cleared the air of suspicion, but also brought them closer, reaffirming the trust between them. This case study underlines the power of effective communication. It's not about confrontation or accusations, but about expressing your feelings and fears and listening to your partner's perspective. It's about creating a safe space where doubts can be voiced, heard, and addressed. Remember, when suspicion creeps in, don't let silence be your answer. Open the lines of communication. It may not always lead to resolution, but it will certainly provide clarity. Communication can be the bridge that mends a broken trust. So, what's next after discovering infidelity? This question hangs heavy in the air. It's a difficult one to answer, but let's try to unravel it together. When confronted with infidelity, there are several paths you can take. Firstly, seeking professional help through therapy or counseling is a viable option. By facilitating a safe and neutral environment, a therapist can help navigate the tumultuous waters of betrayal. They can provide tools and strategies to cope, and perhaps over time rebuild the trust that was shattered. Secondly, separation might be the path for some. It's a tough decision, but sometimes necessary. This doesn't mean failure, but rather an act of self-love and preservation. It's about recognizing what's best for your mental and emotional well-being. Lastly, some may choose to work through the issue together. This requires an immense amount of patience, understanding, and forgiveness. It's a road less traveled and certainly not for the faint-hearted. But for those who tread it, it could lead to a stronger, more resilient bond. Let's take a look at a case study. Consider Sarah and John. Sarah discovered John's infidelity. They opted for therapy and found it immensely helpful. They learned to communicate better and are now in a much healthier place in their relationship. Remember, the path forward is a personal decision, and there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Whatever you choose, remember you're not alone. There's a world of support out there ready to lend a hand, a shoulder, or even just a listening ear.